Hello. This is the second part of our first module on combinatorics and probability. So, part 1 is about combinatorics, and this is part 2, which is probability. So, in this module, included topics are basic concepts of probability, probability of an event, and the rules of probability. So, for the learning outcomes, you're expected to identify and define basic concepts of probability, determine the range of probability values, and find the probability of an event after this topic has been discussed. So, we trace the history of probability during the 17th century when gamblers and mathematicians collaborated, and their purpose was to increase their chance of winning a game of chance. And today, as we all know, probability has various applications, especially in matters about predictions and forecasting. So, the basic concepts about probability are these terms here. We start with the term experiments. Actually, ang mga terms na to ay kasama din nating i-discuss doon sa first module natin. Ah, Dito simplihan na lang natin. Sabi natin sa experiments, these are uh, chance process that yields outcomes or results. So usually ang ginagamit nating experiments dito ay toss of a coin, to roll a die, to draw a card from an ordinary deck of playing cards. So kung magpo-focus tayo sa isang experiment, for example, which is to toss a coin. So kapag nag-toss ka ng coin, may lalabas na dalawang outcomes. It is either a head or a tail. Kapag pinagsama mo yung dalawang outcomes na yon, mabubuo ang tinatawag na sample space. Ang single trial naman, ito naman yung trial na ginawa natin ng isang beses lang, like the tossing of a coin. Ngayon, yung outcomes na pinag-uusapan kanina, tinatawag din yung event. So, an event is simply an outcome if an experiment is performed, na pwede nating i-classify as a simple event or a compound event. So, halimbawa, kung papalitan natin yung experiment natin ng to roll a die. So, kapag sinasabi nating simple event, example will be to obtain a 1 or 2 or to obtain a 3. Ang tawag doon ay simple event because simple events are those events that cannot be decomposed into smaller events. Unlike simple event, compound events are those events that can be decomposed into simple events. So, ang halimbawa naman, kung babalikan natin yung rolling a die experiment is to obtain a number which is greater than 2. So, pag sinabi mong to obtain a number greater than 2, then you can think of the numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6. Kaya ang tawag doon ay compound event kasi pwede ka pang mag-enumerate ng mga simple events. And finally, we have the last term is equally likely, meaning each event has an equal chance. Ibig sabihin, kapag ang example natin ngayon as an experiment is to roll a die, equally likely kapag ang die na pinag-uusapan ay balanced, na lahat ng 6 na outcomes na nandoon ay may equal probability of happening. So for our example here, the first example would be a review on how are we going to list the elements of the sample space. Kasi mahalagang malaman natin kung ilan lahat ang laman ng sample space kapag nagsosolve na tayo ng probability of an event. So, eto basic lang din naman ito, binalikan lang natin how to list the elements of a sample space. The experiment here is to roll a single die. So, ano yung laman ng sample space if the event is an odd number, a number less than or equal to 4, or a number less than 1. So for the first event, an odd number, sabi natin kapag nag-roll tayo ng die, ang laman ng sample space ay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Dun sa anim na numbers na yon, tatlo doon ay odd. We have 1, 3, and 5. Hence, S is equal to a set whose elements are 1, 3, and 5. For the second one, number less than or equal to 4. So, because of the less than or equal to 4, we included 4. So, out of the 6 outcomes, the elements of set S is equal to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And finally, to get a number less than 1, S is equal to an empty or null set. Recall that the elements of set S for the rolling a die experiment are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The smallest of the elements is 1. So it is impossible for us to obtain a number which is less than 1. Hence, S is an empty or a null set. This time, we're going to compute for the probability of an event. So, mangyayari lang ito kapag alam na natin kung ilan lahat ang laman ng sample space. Kasi ilalagay natin yon in the computation of the probability of an event specifically as a denominator. So for the probability of an event, the formula is as simple as the number of outcomes contained in the event divided by the total number of possible outcomes. In short, we have n of E divided by n of S. So observe that if you're going to follow this formula, uh, the number obtained is a fraction. But of course, you can rewrite that or transform that in terms of its decimal equivalent, or you can also write that in terms of percentage. For our example here, so a die is tossed, find the probability of getting a 3. Letter B is getting an even number, and letter C is getting a number less than 3. So again, paulit-ulit lang naman yung example natin. Ang iisipin natin dito, our experiment is to roll a die. Isang piraso lang yung die. So ano ang laman ng sample space natin? This time, ilagay natin yung sample space sa table. So, anong nakikita natin sa table? Ito yung sample space natin. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, we assume that the die is balanced. So, bawat face ng cube natin, ito yung mga numbers na makikita. So, lahat sila tagi-isang uh, beses lang pwedeng lumabas, or yung frequency or count nila is or are all equal to 1. This is an example of what is termed as equiprobable. So again, there are a total of 6 outcomes in the sample space. So the first event is the probability of obtaining a 3. Ang sagot natin dito ay 1 over 6. Bakit 1 over 6? Kasi there is only one way to obtain a 3. Ayan, isa lang yung 3 out of 6. 1 out of 6. So since hindi na natin pwedeng i-reduce yung 1 out of 6, it is already in the simplest form. Final answer is equal to 1 over 6. Letter B, the probability of obtaining an even number. This is an example of a compound event. So titignan natin dito kung ilan sa laman ng sample space natin ang even. So ang sabi dito, there are 3 ways to obtain an even number represented by 2, 4, and 6. So there are 3 out of 6 outcomes, so reduce it to 1 half. Or if you like, you may transform 1 half in terms of its decimal equivalent, and that is equal to 50%. And the last one is the probability of obtaining a number less than 3. So dito, titingnan na naman natin. Saan dito ang less than 3? So we have 1 and 2. So we have 2 out of 6 or equal to 1/3. So for the rules of probability, there are 5 here. The first one is that the probability of any event will always be a number from 0 to 1. So by the way, ito yung range ng mga probability values natin. From 0 to 1. Or it is denoted by 0 is less than or equal to the probability of E or any event at that which is less than or equal to 1. So, ang sinasabi lang dito is that lahat ng mga tanong na may kinalaman sa probability, ang sagot lang ay mula 0 hanggang 1. Lahat ng mga numbers between or from 0 to 1. Hindi siya between, from 0 to 1. So, para doon sa mga events na imposibleng mangyari, so syempre 0 yon. Tapos, yung namang siguradong mangyayari, yun yung nasa 1. Pag mas malapit sa 0, maliit yung chance na mangyayari. Pag mas malapit sa 1, ibig sabihin, malaki yung chance na mangyayari yung event na yon. That leads us to the second rule. The probability of an event that is impossible to occur is 0. Halimbawa, ang tanong ganito, if today is Friday, what is the probability that tomorrow is Sunday? So, ang sagot doon ay obviously 0. Kasi hindi naman susunod sa Friday ay Sunday. Dapat Saturday yon. So, that's the time that 0 is our answer for those events that are impossible to happen. Number 3, when an event is certain to occur, its probability is 1 or 100%. So, halimbawa, ang tanong ganito, what is the probability that the sun will rise tomorrow? So, it is equal to 100%. Whatever happens, meron tayong sunrise bukas. Number 4, the sum of the probabilities of all outcomes in the sample space is 1. Pag pinagsama-sama mo daw lahat ng probabilities ng lahat ng mga outcomes, it is equal to 1. Halimbawa, yung experiment natin is to toss a coin. So, dalawa lang naman yung outcome natin, either head or tail. So, ano ang probability that a head will turn out? So, ibig sabihin, 1 out of 2. Isa lang yung head out of 2 possible outcomes. Likewise, the probability of obtaining a tail is also 1 out of 2 or 1/2. So we get the sum of 1/2 plus 1/2 that is equal to 1. Number 5 has something to do with the complementary events. Ito naman yung the probability that an event will not occur is, or P not E is equal to 1 minus the probability of E. Ito yung complementary of an event. So, dito saan ang galing yung 1? Dun sa number 3, that the sum is always equal to 1. So, para mas maintindihan natin yung rules na to, let us have the example here. So, there is a box. Ang laman ng box ay 18 na mga bola. So, sa 18 na yon, 6 ay orange, 4 are blue, 3 are green, and the rest are yellow. So, if a ball is selected at random, find the probability that the ball is. The first one, orange, red. Number 2, 3, orange or blue or green or yellow. And number 4, not orange. So, we have the solutions here. Una, gagawa muna tayo ng table. Ilalagay natin doon lahat ng sample, laman ng sample space natin, which are the colors of the balls. So, instead na maglagay tayo ng 6 na orange, frequency na lang ng gagawin natin. So, ibig sabihin, given naman yan, except for the yellow. So, saan ang galing yung yellow? Given naman na 18 lahat ng mga bola. Sabi doon, the rest are yellow. So, given na 6 yung orange, 4 yung blue, at saka 3 yung green. So, we get the sum is 13. And 18 minus 13 is 5. So, sa sinasabi doon na the rest are yellow, 5 pala yung yellow balls. So, we get a total of 18. So, what is the probability of obtaining an orange ball? So, simple lang, kukunin lang natin yung bilang ng orange. That would be 6 out of a total of 18. So, we get 6 over 18 or 1/3. In number 2, the probability that it is a red ball, or what is the chance that you are going to get a red ball? Our answer is 0 out of 20. Kasi doon sa listahan, sa sample space, wala namang kulay pula doon. So, imposible na makakakuha ka ng kulay pulang bola. 0. In number 3, the probability of obtaining or getting an orange or blue or green or yellow. Ito naman yung tumutukoy sa rule that the sum of the individual probabilities is 1. So, sa probability theory, kapag ginamit natin yung word na or, ang ibig sabihin doon ay addition. Hence, in our solution, we use the addition. So, orange, we have 6, or blue, 4. So, 6 plus 4, green is 3, so plus 3, plus 5, that would be 18 over 18 or 1. So, ibig sabihin, kapag kumuha ka ng bola sa box na yon, ang makukuha mo talaga is either orange or blue or green or yellow. 100% yon. Kasi yun lang naman ang mga kulay na pagpipilian mo. And finally, in number 4, the probability that you will get not an orange ball. So, ang formula natin kanina, 1 minus P of E. So, ano yung event? Orange. So, ilan yung orange? 6. So, 1 minus 6 over 18 is equal to 12 over 18, and we reduce that to 2/3. So, here are our references, and then maraming salamat.